Spooky season continues, y'all, with yet another horror classic. Terrifier 2. It is time to talk about it. Let's go. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Klepcx FM, brought to you by WeAreCritiX.com, place where we talk about movies, television, and pop culture. And if you're into that kind of thing, make sure you hit that subscribe key and that notification bell so you can be up to speed about everything that I talk about here. Now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, yes, I have had the opportunity, like some of you out there, to see Terrifier 2. Yes, that's right. The follow-up, the sequel to the original Terrifier film, which was based off of a spin-off, which is a spin-off off of a anthology film called All Hallows Eve. For those of you who are real horror buffs and know where this character Art the Clown comes from, Damien Leone has given us, a follow-up to this film. I think, when did that come out? I think it was 2017, I believe. Let's fact check that, because I don't wanna yeah, 2016 the original came out. So and now, over the past, I think it was supposed to drop during the pandemic, but because of the pandemic it got pushed back. It's been long awaited, fan favorite, and I'm a huge horror buff, so of course I was super excited to see this film when it was on its way and when it finally came out. And then I found out that it was going to be limited release only, and the only way you were going to see this thing is if you were lucky enough for it to come to your region or your demographic or your area. And it's pretty much basically like one screening per theater per day, so to speak. But the good news is it's doing very, very, very well. And I foresee this thing sticking around, or maybe even gaining a few extra screenings along the way, especially at least through the Halloween season, being that, it's spooky season and it's the right time for this kind of project. And it has a following. It legit has a cult following. So with the numbers that it did opening weekend, I believe that this thing will stick around for at least 30 days, at least the end of October or Halloween season. So with that being said, I've given you a gist of what it is and who it's about. Let's talk about what did I think about the Terrifier 2. Now, this thing has many things wrong with it, but it also has a lot of things very, very good about it. So I'm going to talk about some of the things that I enjoyed about this film. First, it's very shock value worthy. It's very shocking. Listen, if you're a horror nut and you love the gore, you're a gore whore, and you love slasher, old school slasher, and creepy, and just a lot of body count, this is the film for you. I am an old school horror buff, so I appreciated those moments of the film. Believe it or not, it's just something that I grew up on as a kid. I love, the old school slashers like, Sleepaway Camp, Friday the 13th, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, which kind of geared into weird supernatural stuff along the way. But old school Freddy is where it's at for me. This film delivers that. It even has callbacks to classic films such as A Nightmare on Elm Street and things of that nature. It's not like direct, but like in the cinematography, you can tell that Damien is influenced by the stylings of, say, a Wes Craven. For instance, I'll give you a scene that's not really spoiler, but there's an opening scene when we're meeting our hero of the story, and she's kind of doing some crafts in her room with the montage music and the 80s type style music in the background. It was very reminiscent of the beginning of Dream Warriors for me. Maybe that's not what he was going for, but that's what I picked up on it when I saw that. So yeah, I really think that it had a bit of a nod to that. So that's another thing that I loved about this film. Another thing I like about this film is that Art is Art. Art the Clown is back, and he is the same, if not worse, than he was the first time around. This guy ain't playing around, and kind of playing around and enjoying it very much as he brutally murders and just does his thing throughout this entire film. So I really, really enjoyed that, that term, if it ain't broke, don't really fix it. Our villain in this film is the same villain that we know and have grown to love in the weirdest way possible. Outside of that, because now we're going to get into the territory of things that are just a little left for me. Outside of the murders, outside of art being art, outside of the creepiness that he brings to the table, there's not much to really brag about in this film. You will see people, the reviews are very high on this. Don't get me wrong, guys. Like, I love a horror movie. I like even the worst horror movies and the cheesiest horror movies. You'll see the reviews and the fans and everybody are talking about how brutal this film is and, the kills and everything like that, because fair to say that's really all that's there to talk about. I try to kind of follow along with the storyline in this thing. It does get a little, I don't want to give away nothing, but it strays away from the grounded nature of this crazy person. I'll say that. It strays away from grounded territory. And then it goes into a whole nother territory that I don't want to give away too much, because I know a lot of people probably haven't seen this yet, but I don't want to give away too much. But it does stray away from the grounded nature of which makes Arthur creepy for me. That I'm not really a fan of. By the end of it, I was kind of like scratching my head. And it does what all of our classic horror slashers have done in the past, where it starts off here, and then by the time you get to like movie 5, 6, or 7, it's here in terms of how outlandish the story can get. This does this in the sequel. So I was kind of okay with in the moment, but thinking about it afterwards, I was like, oh well, okay, well, it's not really the kind of ending I was expecting, or but it is what it is. I was thoroughly entertained with the murders and the creepiness and the, anytime art's on the screen, you kind of don't want to turn your eyes away. Some of you may want to turn your eyes away, but for me, it's the better parts of the movie. There is, it's a slasher movie, it's a horror movie, so don't expect Oscar award-winning performances, because it's fair to say some of the acting in this is not that strong. Laura Lavera, I believe the lead, she plays Sienna. She's strong, very strong in this film, carries the film throughout. I liked her, especially in the third act. Her change up and growth in this film really works for me. I hope I see her again. I hope we see more of her in the slasher genre, maybe just other things in general. I know she was in from what I saw, she was in an episode of Iron Fist, I believe. But that's the only place that I could really call out that I actually ever remember seeing her. Who else is in this? Felissa Rose is in this. Angela from Sleepaway Camp makes a cool little cameo in this thing. And she's got some chops in her scene. I didn't hate seeing her. I really enjoyed the callback to classic horror actors in this film. I thought it was cool. It really shows that Damien has a respect for the art and a respect for those that have laid the groundwork for this type of a horror film, because it's culty, very culty. I'm trying to think who else. There's a surprise character in this thing who doesn't really have a big role, but I was shocked when I saw him, because he's been working, and we all see him in Cobra Kai. The kid who plays Daniel LaRusso's son, I can't remember what his name is. Griffin. I don't remember the last name, but he's in this. He plays one of the kids in school who's a friend of Sienna's character, brother. Sienna's character's brother. in this film. So, but there are some pretty not so great performances. Especially the I'm trying to remember what her mom's name is. The lady that plays her mother. I can't remember. The lady that plays her mom in this film. Didn't really do it for me. That wasn't it. And there's some weird things in the casting. A lot of people are playing old. A lot of people are older playing younger, like high school students. And this is just stuff I found out during my research and stuff. It's very crazy. So one of the daughters is actually older than the mother. The daughter is older than the mother in real life, from what I was seeing online, which is pretty cool and weird at the same time, because you don't feel that at all in the performances. One definitely feels older than the other, but it's actually the opposite, and I'm talking about numerous years. But yeah, there's some weird dynamics in the way that this film was put together, which is kind of cool and strange at the same time. So Damien Leone definitely did his thing, putting this film together, and that's the part that I really want to take my hat off to him, because it's not easy to make any movie, let alone a movie that needs this kind of practical special effects. I mean, he took it back to the old school, y'all. Like, he's not CGI and murders. We're seeing real props being smashed to bits, and bodies and sculpts of human heads and chest cavities and all kinds. Like, you're getting the real raw horror stuff. There's no CGI in this whatsoever that I picked up on. Maybe some blood splat, but even that looked practical, and I'm gonna say that it was practical because it looked extremely practical. So shout out to Damien for keeping it old school in such a culty way in this film. My overall thoughts: I am a huge horror buff, and sometimes I like that stuff that just doesn't make any sense, and we're just getting murders after murder, and then at the end of the film, the bad guy gets captured, and we don't know, is there a sequel coming or not a sequel coming, and that's the end of it. That's what Terrifier 1 gave me. Terrifier 1 was just balls to the wall, crazy lunatic, bodies hitting the floor, blood, questionable ending. What's gonna happen next? This one seems like it wants to ante it up so badly that it's kind of taking new territory and putting it out there that I wasn't kind of happy with. But at the end of the day, it was a weird, fun ride watching art be art, and that's the only takeaway. The only takeaway is art's on the screen, art's doing its thing, and that's the stuff that's talk worthy. Storyline wise, not for me. I did not enjoy it at all. But I just, I'm a horror nut, so I'm gonna give anything horror a fair shake. And that's just all I can say about this. I will, however, say this: based on what was introduced in this film, and based on what we were introduced to in the first films and in the others of All Hallows Eve, I'm guaranteeing there'll be a third one. There will be a third one. Not anything that I saw in the movie that I'm trying to give away, but I just off sales alone and buzz, there will definitely be a third one. And when there is a third one, I really hope that certain characters really get fleshed out, and we get maybe some backstory about stuff that kind of tie into the present stuff that we're seeing in this particular film and beyond. Who knows? Yeah, overall, guys, if you're a horror nut and you just like the chaos, go check this out. If you are someone that is looking for elevated horror that means something, and when you walk out of it, you're like, oh, I'm enlightened by this, no, then this is not for you. This is just balls to the wall horror time. This is Halloween movie. This is Halloween material, I'm going to call it. This is straight Halloween candy. That's what we're gonna call this right here. And any horror movie that comes out around the season that gives you that thrill. I think the new Halloween film is going to be the same exact thing. I think it's going to be Halloween candy for us. Yeah, let me know what you think. If you've seen it, what you think about the film. If you're excited to see this film, like, comment, share. Make sure you subscribe. And for more movie news, television news, and pop culture, please check out my website, wearecritics.com. And I will talk to you all later. Peace.